Bring some heat.
Episode 163 of Weighing In with Travis Hartman. I am B Money, the producer. That over there is the Talent Weekend Trav, aka Travis Hartman, or the other way around. Weekend Trav. Crawford versus Madrimov. That card's over. That was this past weekend. It was a sellout there in LA. 22,000 attended for a Terence Crawford fight. Can you believe it? Let's talk about this whole card, top to bottom, maybe bottom to top. Let's go.
Oh,
Terence Crawford,
oh my
Israel
gosh.
Madrimov, the dream. What do you think about this one? What did you think?
Dude, from top to bottom, by far the best pay-per-view pay-per-view boxing card I have ever witnessed in my life.
That's saying a lot. Okay.
Yeah, and
So I
listen,
kind of want
I
to take a,
mean,
I got to take
go
a
ahead.
step back from that. Top to bottom, you're saying this is the best pay-per-view
Yep.
you've seen. Now,
Yep.
what got you? Was it the 3 a.m. finish? Was it the Eminem going on and on and on? What was it? What was it?
Listen, first of all, California, West Coast, you totally disrespected us Easterners over here. Because yes, it was about 2 a.m. by the time we finished, 2:30 even. I think I didn't get to bed till 3. But no, I didn't care that much about Eminem. Who cares? He only played right before the main event. But it was top to bottom. The first fight, I don't know who that guy was. I don't know who, I'm not even going to say their names because I can't even pronounce them. The second fight, Steve Nelson, Marco Vasquez, two undefeated dudes. Steven Nelson, by the way, is also trains at B&B Academy with Bud Crawford, but also he's responsible for a video that I posted of his trunks that look like he's sagging his pants in the ring. It's hilarious. By the time we finish this episode or it posts, I bet we have 500,000 views in 2 days.
Yeah,
So
so
thanks a
we'll
lot,
uh
Steven
we'll
Nelson.
we'll try to be putting that at the same time you're talking about. We'll try to put that up here.
So Steve Nelson won by a KO. And then Andy Cruz, who actually I think was scheduled to fight in Orlando a while back, but actually didn't fight. I'm not sure. I don't think he did. But anyway, Andy Cruz fought Antonio Morin. Andy Cruz is already trying to contend for a world title. He's had like 2 or 3 pro fights. Let me look right now. He's had 3 pro fights. He's 3-0, and he fought a guy that was 30-6. Phenomenal card. Andy Ruiz versus Jarrell Miller. So Andy
Good.
Ruiz is a former heavyweight champion of the world, right? But the ironic part of this fight is Andy Ruiz fought and won his world title over Anthony Joshua, right? The biggest upset of his career, probably the biggest upset of, the last decade for sure. But the only reason Andy Ruiz got to fight Anthony Joshua was because Jarrell Big Baby Miller tested positive for steroids.
Mm.
Well, fast forward last weekend, Jarrell Big Baby Miller and Andy Ruiz faced off and fought each other. So phenomenal. We could talk about that a little bit, but then you have David Morrell, who was campaigning at super middleweight 168, wanting to fight Canelo or David Benavidez. Now he moves up to 175 because he wants to fight David Benavidez. Nobody is chasing David Benavidez, to be fair, except David Morrell. Pretty cool. So he fought. He fought a guy, I can't pronounce his name. I won't even pronounce it, but this guy had also fought Better Beef, who is a world champion at 175.
Sure.
And then we have Isaac Cruz versus Jose Valenzuela. Huge fight, upset. I called it. It was a good one. And then we have Terence Crawford, Israel Madrimov for the main event. To me, there was 4 or 5 high-level, either former world champions, future world champions, or current world champions in 5 of the pay-per-view TV fights, and the crowd came out hours before the main event, which you never see,
Yeah, you
hardly
saw
ever.
you saw a lot of names out there for this one. I saw Chris Billum Smith was there. You had a lot of former champs were out there. You had Shakur Stevenson out there trying to little mix it up with Vasily Lomachenko. That's something to talk about. Maybe we'll do that in a few minutes. Like a yapping dog, this kid.
It was.
You had a lot. You had a lot going on in this show. So I will say it, the Turk brought him out. As we continue to do whatever we can to please this guy with all the money that puts these shows together. Right, Weekend Trav? What are you thinking about him?
Yeah, and you're speaking of Turkish Alashik. They call him His Excellency. I mean, the
Mhm.
only person that I worship is our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I don't worship Turkish Alashik. However,
The
I do
boxing
think,
community does right now because
yeah, the
that's the
boxing,
payday, baby.
they're sucking at the teats of Turkish Alashik right now. But yeah, I mean, this guy's doing good for boxing right now. He's
Yeah,
making
he
these
is.
big fights, and there's not a lot I complain about with him because he's spending the money, but I hope that he's making it back because Terence Crawford sold out a soccer stadium, 22,000 seat arena soccer stadium in Los Angeles. Pretty phenomenal B money.
Yeah.
And it was on pay-per-view. So
And
pretty
you even bought
phenomenal.
this pay-per-view. You bought this one.
I didn't
You
even
didn't
stream it
you didn't even
illegally.
pirate it. You actually bought this one.
I paid the $79.95 price tag on it. You know what? I'm actually glad that I did because I got to watch some really cool fights. And I watched, this is what never happens. Weekend Trap doesn't do this normally. I'm like every other person in the world. I'll come in and watch about the second or third before the main event fights. That's it. I watched like all six of these fights, man. It was, I don't know, I was kind of enthralled, and every one of those fights had its own little bit of like mystery and roller coaster
By
to
the
it.
way, I think you owe me a little bit. We're going to talk about the main event here in just a moment. You owe me because I helped you with your miscalculation on your bets on the Hard Rock Bets app
B
when
Money's
you're
right.
putting some money forth on the main event. Oopsie, we won't talk about the specifics, but hey, I just won you some money. You could have just
You
lost a
did.
bunch of money if I didn't say
You did.
something.
You
Um,
did.
Main event. Okay, so we're going to talk main event right now. Terence Crawford, Israel Madrimov, and then we'll talk about some of the undercard matchups right after that. But give me your rundown, your thoughts as that fight progressed. I think you called it right, thinking it was going to go in the latter rounds, and did actually go to the judges on Terence Crawford stepping up in weight. That always tends to be difficult for most any fighter. And Madrimov is no slouch. Very, very kind of a, I don't want to say chaotic style, but his style is very odd, so hard to
Yeah.
kind of figure out, and obviously it took several rounds to
Yeah.
even come close to figuring out. So we can trap. Give me your thoughts, your rundown on this fight, the result, and then maybe we'll talk about what could possibly be next on the Terence Crawford radar.
Terence Crawford won a world title at 135 pounds, won a world title at 140 pounds, won a world title at 147, won a world title at 150 last weekend after he beats Israel Madrimov. So I thought this fight was going to go late for sure. I was thinking after the 10th round, possibly a KO or a TKO. However, after the first couple of rounds that I was watching it, I was like, Israel Madrimov has got a type of style. I think herky jerky is kind of a good term for it. He's fast hands, fast feet,
Yeah.
um, in and out, got a good chin. You're never going to land a clean headshot on him. And he impressed me. I'll tell you right now that he was 10-0-1 was his record going into this fight. And the only draw he got was a technical draw because there was a cut or something after 2 or 3 rounds. And it wasn't even a draw. It was a technical draw because there was some kind of a cut and they went to the scorecards and whatever. It was only like 3 rounds completed. So he was undefeated. But he will never be dominated by a fighter. Okay. Terence Crawford was not set up to look good against this guy. I don't think he looked bad, but everybody's expecting Terence Crawford after he just beat down Errol Spence and like dominated him, right? Beat him down, knocked him out, knocked him down. So any performance less than that, people are going to be like, oh, maybe Terence Crawford's not the number one pound for pound anymore. However, look through it a little more. Terence Crawford won this fight. Terence Crawford did absolutely the most he possibly could against this guy with the type of style this guy had. The guy had over 350 amateur fights too, man. Like the guy could fight straight, and he was a world champion. So let's give him credit for that too. But Terence Crawford on my scorecard won 116, 112. I scored it 8 rounds to 4. I also said in our group chat, I go, we're going to see some 115, 113s. We saw a 116, 112 and two 115, 113s. The last 2 rounds, Terence Crawford had to win on other two judges' scorecards. I thought the fight was close. I never felt, though, that Terence Crawford was ever in trouble of losing this fight, if that makes sense, even though it was super close. I always felt like he could turn it on when he needed to, do just enough to win. And that's what he did down the stretch, the championship rounds, which is rounds 11 and 12. Terence Crawford does what Terence Crawford does. He pulled it out in the championship rounds because he is a championship caliber fighter. He's a former undisputed in 2 different weight classes. Now he's a world champion in 4 different weight classes. Impressive, B Money.
What do you say to the naysayers that think that the score should have gone the other way? There's a lot of detractors out there that came out right after that fight thinking Bud lost. Terence Bud Crawford lost. This is this and that. What do you have to say to the naysayers, the keyboard warriors that had their field day with that decision?
Well, I got to say this is one, don't listen to Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn is a promoter. Eddie Hearn was the Madrimov promoter as well. He's the one that started it all because as soon as the fight ended, he's jumping in the ring, you know, screaming, yelling. And then when the announcement got made, he was all up in arms about it. Listen to me. Listen, I'm a fan of Terence Crawford. We all know that. I had him on the podcast. We had him on Weighing In with Travis Hartman. Go check that out. Subscribe to us. Check us out on YouTube. But I am very unbiased when I judge these fights too. Terence Crawford threw more punches, landed more punches, B Money. It can be as simple as that. And he pressed the fight quite a bit. He was never in trouble. Neither was the other guy, to be fair. I don't think the other guy was ever in trouble either, right? But Terence Crawford put on a good boxing lesson and he won on points. The detractors are the detractors. Who cares? Terence Crawford was the favorite. So if the favorite doesn't blow him out or knock him out, everybody's up in arms. But I can promise you this was not a fight that was a robbery, and it wasn't even close to that. It was a very close fight. It was a competitive fight. It was a fight that on my own scorecard, 116, 112, 2 or 3 rounds away from being a draw. And there was 2 or 3 rounds that were a toss up for sure. I just thought Terence Crawford did enough. Terence Crawford was clean. This is not always a good judge, but if you looked at both guys' faces after the fight, you want to look at them and say this, who would you rather be at the end? Looking at those two. Terence Crawford was clean, unblemished. Madrimov had some swelling under his eye, was obviously touched up because Crawford hit him more than he hit him. So when I looked at those two, I did the simple eye test. I said, who would I want to be? I looked over at Crawford. I'd rather look like Crawford in that moment. And I'm not talking about looks. I'm talking about scrapes and scuffs and all that stuff. And
he's a good looking gentleman anyway, so I could see why you'd want to look like him.
I want to have I would love to have his bank account right now. But
I'm sure.
Terence Crawford and his legacy. I mean, listen, the guy came on our podcast and I asked him, he's undisputed in two weight divisions, which is unheard of. It's been done like once or twice, maybe ever. But I asked him, I was like, what's Terence Crawford's end game look like? How does Terence Crawford ride off into the sunset? And I have a good video that I'll post on our Instagram page. But he said a third undisputed, Trav. He goes, and then that's when I could ride off into the sunset. So he's part of the way there, B Money. He's got a portion of the 154-pound title. Now I think Sebastian Fundora has the other titles. So if Terence Crawford could do that, or he can move up to 160 and fight one of the winners there. But I like him at 54 right now, and I think he should stay there. I hope that he can land a fight with the other champion, which is Sebastian Fundora, who is like 6'4", 6'5".
That would be entertaining to watch.
Awesome fight, man.
You know, we'll talk in a few moments about the elephant in the room potential for the next fight that's been clamored for months at this point. We'll talk about that in a few moments, but let's talk a bit on some of the other fights that were on this thing. Maybe we just go in reverse. Maybe start with Isaac Cruz, right? Yeah. I texted you during that fight. Basically, and we both won money on it because we took the underdog. I texted you during that fight, and I said something to the effect of, "I've just never been a fan of Isaac Cruz's style. It's pretty one-dimensional. I'm gonna get in tight. I'm smaller than you. I'm gonna pressure you. I'm gonna eat some punches, and I'm just gonna smother you until I get this thing out." It just seems one-dimensional, and somebody finally, I think, kind of figured it out. It took a few rounds, which was the anticipation. But who is he fighting here? I forget his name already. There we go.
Jose Valenzuela.
Valenzuela.
Yep.
Once he got it through, call it round 4, maybe 5. I think it was round 4. Then he just started like finding his uppercut. Then he started finding his range, and then all of a sudden, Isaac Cruz's game plan, which didn't deviate, by the way. Come on, coaches. You got to have something else for the guy. It didn't deviate, so he was going forth with the same exact pressure tactic, which wasn't working anymore. And then, what do you know? Underdog wins. Weekend Trav, B Money. We're happy because we won some money on this thing, right?
Let's do the Johnny Manziel, baby.
Oh, man. I forgot that guy existed.
Football.
I forgot he was alive.
Yeah, listen, I'm a fan of Isaac Pitbull Cruz, and his nickname Pitbull is that he's just in your face. He's 5'4", and this is why I picked against him, because the one fight that Isaac Pitbull Cruz can set on is his Gervonta Davis fight. He gave Gervonta Davis the best fight Gervonta Davis has ever had up to this point, okay? He lost, but it was a very close, competitive decision. But he's only 5'4". Gervonta's 5'5", so that's why that
Yeah,
fight
another
also
small
made
guy.
sense.
Another
Yeah.
small guy. Yeah.
The reason why I picked against this guy was two reasons. One, he had Robert Garcia in his corner. Jose Valenzuela did.
Yep.
Jose Valenzuela is 5'10".
Yeah.
Okay. 5'4" Pitbull Cruz. I know that Pitbull Cruz's game is on the inside, right? So a 5'10" guy is not that scary because that's how he fights anyway. Pitbull Cruz in his face, on his chest. But this guy is trained. He's smart. He knows better. And that's why I picked him. And I think it was a silly fight, to be honest, for Isaac Cruz to take with a possible Gervonta Davis or a Shakir Stevenson fight looming, because you fought a 5'10" guy who's also a lefty, I believe, and he comes from a background of the Garcia gym in California. They're smart. They know how to fight. Their game plan is good. They can adjust mid-fight. And guess what? They did. He just boxed him and moved, B-Money. He actually made it look pretty simple. And I
Yeah.
like Cruz, but this was not a good fight for him stylistically.
You just knew if it was going to go in the deep rounds that this was, that's why we took it. I mean, it was a plus 350 at the time that I put money in on this fight. And I think it was probably plus 350 when you did as well. So, I mean,
Yep.
overall net, it was a net positive for me for the whole event. Thank goodness. Mainly because of this fight. Yeah, you mentioned one name there, Shakur Stevenson, and you're putting him against Pitbull Cruz. Here's how this fight would go. This is the way this fight would go. Pitbull Cruz would be chasing him, and Shakur Stevenson will be running the whole time. That would be the worst 12-round fight to ever watch in my life. It would be one guy chasing another guy. It would be boring. We can get to Shakur in a second. But yeah, overall, it was just styles make fights. You think you said that at some point while we were watching this thing, and absolutely correct. And the style was not proper for Isaac Cruz. I'll give it to him though. He's at least fighting. He wants to fight, and he'll just seems like he'll fight anybody. But this probably, from a management standpoint, wasn't a good matchup for him. They probably should not have taken this one. But I bet you the money was pretty sweet, man. I'm telling you, this Turk guy, this guy from the Middle East, man, they probably threw a lot of money at Pitbull Cruz to be on this basically the co-main. So it's good for him. Good for his bank account, but not good for him losing whatever belt he was carrying.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it is what it is, but it was the WBA super lightweight belt, which is a 140-pound belt. So like, yeah, it was. I'm glad we got that fight though, B-Money. Normally you don't get fights like that. Normally, Pitbull Cruz doesn't get a tough, weirdly awkward, tactically difficult fight, but he did, and we got to, and it was fun to watch because at every moment you were like, when is Pitbull Cruz is pressure gonna break down Valenzuela? So it never was like,
because Valenzuela didn't have the power, and he was throwing his uppers were finding it, but it wasn't taking Pitbull off his feet. He just kept pointing every round. Let's move forth. Andy Ruiz, Jarrell Miller. This was always fun to watch the big guys fight. Especially when they're in front of their other big guys watching them. Because I know one Richard Torres Jr. was in the crowd. He was watching. Okay,
your boy.
I mentioned CBS. Even though he's a cruiserweight, he's a big cruiserweight. Chris Billum Smith. I don't think he'll ever step up to that level. But you had some big guys in the audience watching these two just monsters, behemoths of men. Fighting one another.
Mike Tyson was in the crowd.
Mike Tyson was also in the crowd. I guess he's still alive. I guess he's back for whatever health scare he had.
Is he training with Jake Paul?
Okay, once again, I'm saying that's never going to happen, but we'll see.
Anyway,
schedule. Let's talk about these guys, man.
Ruiz versus Big Baby Miller.
Exciting.
Dude. Oh my gosh. I even forgot to mention Jared Anderson, the other heavyweight. That wasn't even on my list.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Fights. But Andy Ruiz, Jarrell, Big Baby Miller, the other big baby on the card, because there's two big baby nicknames, was a great fight, B-Money, because the first 4 or 5 rounds, I was like, oh, Ruiz looks good. He's at a high level again, blah, blah, blah. And then after the 5th round, he just like stalled out.
And now we know why, and we'll get to that.
Yes. And I want to give him credit for this. So it was a good fight, but also I'm going to give credit where it's due too. Jarrell Big Baby Miller looked better than I've seen him in a long time. He was active. He threw a bunch of punches. You could tell he came mentally and physically prepared for this fight, which the fans got a good fight because of that. But it ended up going to be a draw. I wasn't upset with a draw. I could have seen Big Baby Miller winning. However, after the fight, Andy Ruiz walks up, takes the wraps off, and shows you his hand. The dude's hand was broken. And he said it happened in the 5th round. He's not wrong, because if you watch that fight, even
That's
the
where it all
commentary,
changed.
it did. And he was dominating. He was doing great. So I do believe him. I mean, you can't not believe him. You
Well,
should
it
have seen the
showed. I mean,
bone sticking out. Yeah.
it was a pop up too.
Yeah.
It wasn't like one of these fingers broke in here inside where it could swell up and become a
Yeah.
club again. It was up, so
Yeah.
it didn't look great. What I will say is I had Miller winning this one on Hard Rock Bets. Thank goodness it was a draw because it pushed and I got my money back. So I didn't have to worry about losing anything. I got the push, so I got my funds back. I was happy camper after that point.
So it was another great heavyweight fight. I would love to see the rematch when Ruiz is healthy. But I think Ruiz, though, his account in the first 4 or 5 rounds, I think he's back on the big scene. There'll be money. He was fast, he was powerful. He fought a 300-pound guy, 305-pound Jarrell Big Baby Miller, and he was cracking him, and Big Baby Miller was taking it. But I think Ruiz is back. If they can rematch, if Ruiz can beat him, if Ruiz can possibly stop him with a healthy hand, I think Ruiz is back on the big
I
scene.
think
He beat Anthony Joshua.
I think a rematch is definitely on the timetable. He went straight and she showed him a picture of himself already getting his hand worked on in the hospital the very next morning. So it might be a little bit, he might be on the shelf for some time. But what I will say is that because of Ruiz, I think I'm back to eating carbs heavily again, man. He was on the taco and burrito diet for this fight and he looked good. So I think I need to be back to just eating a bunch of carbs and getting in Ruiz shape. What do you think about that?
First of all, B Money, his body didn't look good. His output and his boxing looked good. So don't you dare do the tacos and burritos diet, because it's
Man,
not gonna
it's
pay
tough,
off.
man. Okay. Well,
But
let's
he did look phenomenal in his actual boxing
he did. So
abilities.
kudos both guys. Good fight. I mean, what would you say? I would almost give that one the nod for kind of fight of the night, right? I mean, it was pretty good fight. It was pretty good
I
fight
mean,
from the first round to the last round. It was pretty darn good.
yeah, I think so. I think because it went the full distance, I think you have the 12 rounds. I think you do have to give it to that. But there was another heavyweight fight on this
Hmm.
card that was actually very exciting, and it was an upset.
Yep.
And it was the other big baby, Jared Anderson, got upset by Martin Bacoli. But listen, I know it's an upset. I do, but I don't feel like it was an upset, if that makes sense.
You've been very vocal on social media as well as on this podcast in, months past. You're not a big fan of Jared Anderson, and
It
that's
was
okay.
just, yeah.
I'm not a big fan of his either, just because it's what he does outside of the ring. Um, See him in the ring, but I'm also not shedding any tears for the result of the fight.
So listen, people are always like, "Oh, you're just hating on him because he lost." No, I'm not. I was never hating on him, and I don't hate him. I don't think he was as talented as they thought he was. Okay. And what I mean by that is they're like, he's the next American heavyweight that's going to do something. I'll tell everybody right now, and I've been critical of Deontay Wilder, but Deontay Wilder knocks out Jared Anderson today if they fought. That's my prediction. If Deontay Wilder wants to come back, I think he should fight Jared Anderson, Big Baby. But I think he should fight. That would be an amazing fight. So
Deontay, don't come back. Just
just
retire.
be
Retire.
happy, and you
Enjoy
made a
your
lot of money.
money.
Yes,
Spend
but
time with your
here's the
family.
deal: if I was coaching or advising Jared Anderson, this is what I tell you: you're only 24. Yes, but don't set back and just use that as an excuse to why you lost. You've changed so many trainers in the last 2 years. Roy Jones Jr. was working with him. Sugar Hill's working with him now. He had somebody before Roy Jones. What I want to say about that is that's a clear insecurity in a fighter when you change trainers that many times, and you're undefeated, B Money. You're undefeated, and you've changed trainers 3 times that we know of. And he got a DWI or a DUI like mid training camp not too long ago as well. So I think he is 24, but don't just fall back and be like, "Oh, I'm young, I can bounce back." No, you're not young and you can bounce back. You're only young and you can bounce back if you want to and you show the discipline. Okay.
Hmm.
I don't know that he's shown the discipline. I think he's a very good fighter. I think if he showed the discipline in training and he showed the discipline in staying focused on boxing, I think he could be very good because he is a very big heavyweight. He's a very quality heavyweight. He is, but I didn't think that he was the next American coming because of what I've seen the last couple of years. And like I said, don't come at me with this. I'm hating on this guy because I'm not. I'm just telling you the truth. He's not disciplined, and he
Oh.
hasn't been.
Well, we saw it. We saw it on Saturday. He was taken out of his boots, basically, in his fight. I can't remember which round it was where that fight was finished.
Fifth or
But
so, I think. I can't remember exactly
yeah,
either.
but
Yeah.
Bacoli
Fifth or
basically
sixth.
from the end of
Fifth round. It
round
was the fifth round.
from the end of round one through, it was a one-sided affair for the
Yeah,
most
you could
part.
tell who was going to win that one.
Um, okay, so a couple
We skipped
others.
over David Morrell. David Morrell was
Well,
like the
that
third
was
before
yeah,
the
so
main event.
that was before them. So I was going
Yeah.
backwards. We'll skip over Moran and Cruz. But yeah, we could talk briefly Morel. I don't know
Super brief. That's a super brief one,
versus however
honestly.
you say that last name. What do you think there? Do you think they got the assessment right after the fight? Do you think he won?
I think Morrell won, yes. But what I don't think is I'm going to be critical of him too, and I know that people are really high on him, but I'm not high on him yet. And that was not because of this fight. He moved up in weight. He didn't knock the guy out, and everybody's expecting Morrell to knock everybody out that he faces. But this guy was very tough. He's only been knocked out by Archer Betterbeef, which makes Archer Betterbeef look even more powerful. The fact that Morrell, who is a known knockout puncher, couldn't knock him out either. But I think Morales needs work, man. I do. I don't think he should be chasing guys like Benavidez or Canelo Alvarez, but props to him because everybody says that David Benavidez is the boogeyman and nobody's calling him out. But guess what? David Morrell is actually going up in weight, chasing David Benavidez. So props to him. I hope that Morrell can get a Benavidez fight and look back at Weekend Trav and be like, hey, I told you I could beat this guy. I'll watch it. If you can get a David Benavidez fight and you can shut him up and beat him, I will eat my words. But right now, I don't think you're that fighter right now.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
That's it.
I guess that would be the only thing to line those two up with because, frankly, especially after Benavidez's last performance, I mean, who do you want to see him fight?
Both guys, Benavidez and now Morrell, didn't
Both guys
have
need a
those
statement fight.
blockbuster fights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they need a statement fight. That would be good against one another. So you mentioned one name in there that wasn't a part of the show, but he was talked about quite significantly, and that's one Canelo Alvarez. And the whole rumor of him potentially taking on Terence Crawford maybe next year, maybe Cinco de Mayo weekend next year. You think that's in jeopardy now, weekend Trav? After seeing Terence Crawford obviously victorious, obviously now a four-weight champ, but that's a big step up in weight again to find Canelo Alvarez. Is it just too much to wish for? Just the difference in in just the metrics of the guys. Is this even a good fight to chase for Terence Crawford aside from money? Is this a good fight for legacy or not?
So I'm gonna go a couple ways with this. Is one, Turkish Ali Sheikh already sent an offer to Canelo for February, I believe. It was not even May, which is not gonna happen because Canelo fights in May. He's not gonna fight in February.
Right.
But based on that performance, for me, I still think the Canelo fight looks good, B Money. I know I'm in the minority because the only reason I say that is because I can see through a guy like Madrimov and how Crawford looked. It was going to be impossible to knock this guy out. It wasn't going to be a phenomenal fight. Terence Crawford was not set up to look phenomenal against this guy. It was a world title. That's what he was looking for. He got it. For me, I think a fight with Canelo is still super intriguing. I do, because I don't think that necessarily Crawford is actually going to be giving up that much size
Yeah,
by fighting
Crawford.
Canelo.
Yeah. Canelo's a little short for his weight.
But he's came into his body. He's a bowling ball now, and he's
Yeah.
been there for years, and Crawford hasn't. So I get it. But Crawford was never going to be the bigger puncher. He was never going to be the bully in a Canelo fight anyway. Crawford can fight. Crawford can box. Crawford can move. Crawford has a chin. So I think it's a big money fight. I would love to see Crawford get it, but based on that performance, I don't think he does get it. But for me, as a boxing guy, I would love to see that still be money. I know that I'm in the minority. I would love to see Canelo Crawford fight because just there's so many different aspects of both of their games, and the fact that one's undisputed at 168, which is Canelo, and if somehow Crawford can go up there and win an undisputed at
It seems,
168,
I don't know.
it seems so absurd and wild that you're just like, that should never happen,
Yeah, because you
which is
mentioned a lot.
exactly why I think it should happen.
You mentioned a lot of strengths that Terence Crawford has. You had the chin, his boxing IQ, all these things that he has in the ring. He's a good boxer, a good technician. All these, but I look at it across the ring, and I look at somebody that's bigger and sees more. Well, I go, I guess is more seasoned, but they've both of them been in the game for a long time. Canelo has all of them too, all those attributes too.
Yeah. Yep.
And the only thing he doesn't have is the ability to go right or left. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of that would
Yeah.
separate the two
Yeah.
as a strength on Crawford's side. But man, what you said about the good things about Crawford, Canelo has them too in a bigger frame
Yeah.
and a dominant frame. So I don't know. I don't think it's a good fight for legacy. I think it's a great fight for the fans to watch. I just don't think the output of the fight's going to be favorable for Crawford. Let's put it that way.
I mean, we may never see it. We may never see it anyway,
Yeah.
but
Well,
by
yeah,
the
because
sounds of it too, Crawford didn't seem like he wanted it at the end of that fight too. If you heard the
realistic.
interview, he wasn't
Yeah,
like, yeah, you know what? That's another thing. Like, I mean, come on, like I respect Crawford so much. And I know that I might be a homer because I was in the ring with Crawford. I fought Crawford. He came on the podcast. I love Crawford. I do. I respect what he's done. But like, if that guy somehow could go up to 168 and dethrone a listen, Canelo Alvarez has been in the pound for pound conversation, at least the top five, for like probably a decade. So if you could go up and fight this guy and pull that off, like it's phenomenal. And let's not jump to conclusions too much. Canelo's got a tough fight on his hands
I
coming up in
know. I
September,
was
B
about to
Money.
say because he's got to
I
fight
mean,
one Edgar Berlanga. Holy moly! Stop the presses. They had their first press conference, I think today, or today is Monday.
yeah.
Um, wow. So let me. I don't know. I don't know what to think about this one because we kind of talked about it months ago as a joke, and now it's actually come to fruition that this is what's happening. Canelo Alvarez taking on Edgar Berlanga. Let me give you a quote here, Week in Trav. I sent this to you. I don't think you saw it yet. And this is Caleb Plant speaking on how Berlanga can beat Canelo. And I quote, I mean, he's got to be able to use boxing skills he doesn't have a chin that he doesn't have, and have the experience that he doesn't have. And end quote. That's Caleb Plant talking about how Berlanga beats Canelo Alvarez there in September. Um,
Hey,
Are we buying? Are we watching this thing? I mean, come on, come on. Have the
listen,
odds makers come out with anything on this one? Let's see here. You keep talking, but let me see if there's anything out there yet.
all I'm gonna say is this. Listen, I said this before they made the fight because it came down to a couple different guys that Canelo could fight. And I said, if Canelo chooses Berlanga, I believe he's choosing the easy fight. He needs a win. Not needs a win. That's the wrong word. Canelo wants an easier type of fight because he will take a tougher one in his next one, which would be probably Cinco de Mayo. So I was like, if he chooses Berlanga, he's looking for a knockout, which he'll probably get. Now, B Money, I do want to say this. Um, Me and you both, and I remember this, we were sitting in the boxing gym downstairs where I'm at right now, and we were kind of mocking and making fun of the fact that Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder were going to fight like a third time. And I was like, this is the biggest joke of a fight. It should never happen. And then even though Fury won, like Deontay Wilder dropped Fury like again in that fight. And we were like, oh my God, it ended up being a crazy, exciting fight. So although my expertise tells me that Canelo will dominate and eventually knock out Berlanga, it is the boxing world. Crazier things have happened, like a overweight, out of shape Andy Ruiz knocking out an Anthony Joshua on 10 days notice. That's
Sure.
a crazy one too, B
It
Money.
could it could listen, it
Although
could happen,
Ruiz has better skill than Berlanga. He does.
but we're
So I
talking
don't know.
about probably one of the best, if not the best Mexican fighter of all time. I'm gonna say it. Canelo
I will
Alvarez.
second that. I will
It,
second you.
definitely
The
not
best
an Anthony
Mexican.
Joshua. So here's the fight lines right now. Okay, and today is August 5th. So this fight is September 15th. Canelo Alvarez A minus 1,500 favorite. Well, Edgar Berlanga, that would pay you plus 700 if you take him straight out. That's that's all it's showing right now, not rounds or anything like that. But that's what's showing just on the winner. Plus 700 if you want to take a flyer at Edgar Berlanga, dropping the probably the one of the best ever to lace him up. Come on. Come on,
I
boxing
mean,
community.
be money that the odds are so terrible that it's worth putting a
You
couple
kind of have
bucks
to throw
down, though.
something at it, right?
Right? That's almost
Jeez.
awesome for
I
Vegas. Vegas,
mean, I
Vegas is gonna
mean,
get so many sucker bets.
listen, all my boxing dollars right now, you know me, I'm tied up in some of this Olympic action on the boxing matches. So um so I'm taking two heavily favored female fighters, heavily favored. They both have very strong bone density and chiseled features. I'm taking that's where my boxing gambling dollars are going in the female boxing Olympic ranks because
Hmm.
heavily favored.
Well, if we're talking Olympics, I'm gonna go positive here and go Amari Jones from Orlando
Oh
is
yes,
in the medal round.
let's do it.
Holla back. Like, let's go. I know that Craig
Hold on.
Duncan
Don't ever do
trained
that.
School of Hard Knocks.
Wait, wait, wait.
What I do?
Don't ever do that again.
What did I do?
The holla and all this other stuff. Don't do that again. No.
Holla.
But yes,
Am I too white for that?
a little bit. What's his handle? Is it like banger than pause or something like that?
Yeah,
Um,
it's Amari Jones, but like, yeah, it's his Instagram handle you're talking about. He is. I'll tell you Tuesday, but it's something like banger pause. Yeah, you're not wrong.
yeah. So yeah,
Uh,
that's awesome to see. That's a great story. Weekend Trav. Let's do the cleanup for the show.
banger put them pause.
Yeah.
But it's Amari Jones. Look up Amari Jones. It'll show up. He's
Local guy,
verified.
local talent, good for you. Let's do the cleanup portion of the show where we kind of go back. Did we forget something? Do we miss something? What else do the folks at home need to hear coming out of your mouth or my mouth? What did we miss? Nothing.
I
Just
don't
like that.
think I don't think we missed anything.
Okay, wow.
Because I'm gonna refrain from buying into your Olympic XX and XY
Oh,
chromosome
I
talk.
said nothing like that. I
I
said
know, that's
nothing.
why, and I didn't add to it. I
I
jumped
said
right to
I
Mari
said
Jones.
it's a smart money pick. It's a smart
So
two of them.
listen,
Two of them.
I think you're correct in that one. But um, otherwise, yeah, I haven't watched. To be fair, I've only seen, I've only seen the updates of the Olympics on my Instagram feed or
I'm
my
not
social
watching.
media feed. I listen. For whatever reason, I just have not been called to watch.
I can give you three reasons. I'm not going to get into them because we don't need to be shadow banned for a variety of reasons.
We're probably already getting shadow banned.
Well, listen, it says make
I
TH
know.
boxing great again. You can't help it that some big political outfit stole
It's not my fault.
your slogan and your hat and all that stuff,
Listen,
I
I'm just
think.
saying that also the GOAT.
Yes, he is.
Let's go. What up? Had to match it up today.
I see that.
Wait, what are you looking up over there?
I'm not. I'm typing so I can get my story updated here on my personal, actually my business, my personal, my Instagram
Yeah,
page here.
you better tag our Instagram page, which by the way, we're getting tons of views. Check us out, Weighing In with Travis Hartman on our Instagram page, Weighing In with Travis Hartman on our YouTube page, Weighing In with Travis Hartman on Spotify, Weighing In with Travis Hartman on Rumble. We are everywhere. We're even on the TikTok. Check us out there. We're
Yeah,
getting
what is
healthy
that?
views there. Be money.
Talk to me.
I think I can accurately, what, I'm gonna say it. I don't even care. Across all of our social medias, we have over 1 million views
Yeah,
across all of our social medias, including our Facebook,
yeah.
including our Instagram. We have well over that actually, including our YouTube channel. But give us a mother effing subscribe. Give us a like. Share
Yeah,
us
listen,
like you would share somebody else.
I get it. It's easy when you click off of our reels and stuff to go to the link for our YouTube video or content for the podcast, the interviews and stuff like that. That's great. That's great. However, YouTube is a monster when it comes to metrics and stuff like that. You got to actually be logged into your account for that to really count for anything. And if you're logged into your account when you click off of something, or you're seeing our podcast or seeing in our interviews, anything like that. I mean, hell, we just had who did you just have on the show just a week
Shane
ago?
Mosley Jr.,
That
man,
was a
come check
great
it out.
one.
He's the #1 rated WBA middleweight in the world right now.
Yeah, and
Number one.
in line for a title shot now. Anyways, so when you click on this stuff, folks, just make sure you're logged into your account so we actually get some some numbers. And if you're not subscribed yet on YouTube, or if you're not subscribed anywhere else, or you're listening to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, all this stuff, just where you get your audio source, subscribe to it. Get alerted, especially on YouTube. Hit the bell icon, hit the thumb up, interact with us. That helps us a bit. And, just kind of keeps us motivated to put more stuff out there. Interact with us. Call us dummies. Say you are not making boxing great again there, TH guy. You're not doing anything. Hey, B Money, I love your shirt. Where'd you get it? You say stuff like that. I mean, that's the kind of interaction we want, right?
Yeah, I'm not scared. I'm not scared of those comments. Let's go. Troll us. Come on.
Well, sometimes it hurts our feelings, but if you want to hurt our feelings, do it. It is what it is.
Listen, like there's bigger things in this world than to get hurt over social media. So there's nothing you guys can say that's gonna hurt my feelings, okay? Because, and I'm gonna tell you why, B Money.
Oh, I'll give you an example what will hurt your feelings. You tell me why, and then I'm going to give you an example what will hurt your feelings. Go.
I'm gonna tell you why you could never hurt my feelings. Because in the 90s, I held a flashlight for my dad when he was working. You're never gonna hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Because I've heard worse by better.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. What if someone attacked your beard?
Actually, you know what? I wouldn't be that mad. You know why, B Money?
I would
Because
cry.
I would know they were just jealous.
Okay. I would actually be a little sad, miffed. Yeah.
You're opening the door now for haters.
Interact. Interact.
I know, I like it. Let's go.
Comment.
Tell us how amazing B Money's beard is.
B Money, your ratty beard. It looks terrible. Weekend Trav's looks. If you tell me Weekend Trav's beard looks better than mine, I'm quitting.
That's it. I'm creating a fake account and I'm gonna troll the shit out of you.
You don't want me to quit, because then who would put this thing together? I don't know.
Wait, well, you said quit. I didn't hear that part.
I was joking. I can't.
4 years now, dude. You can't quit.
Can't quit you.
I can't quit.
Final thoughts, please.
Oh my God. I think with that comment, it makes us woke. I think we're woke now.
Well, then we should get subscribers and and push our content. Hey, we have some sort of monetization going on YouTube. I don't know what that means.
Everybody, we're woke. So follow us or subscribe to us because we're woke. We're the wokest.
It's 8 p.m. I don't feel awoke at all right now. I feel kind of tired.
No, I don't know if that's a word, but I'll take it.
Okay. So no more final thoughts. That was it. We've hit that point. All right. So all I'm going to say
nobody's watching this far.
Yeah. That's why we can say whatever we want. That over there is the talent Weekend Trav.
That there is B Money, aka producer, aka the man, the myth, the legend, the man that makes this podcast go round. And without him, we couldn't do this.
Subscribe below. Give a thumb up. Also hit the bell icon when you want to be notified of the next time we drop anything.
Or you could be like the Fonz and give them 2 thumbs up. All up in there.
And be smart with your Olympic gambling dollars in the women's boxing. God bless.
We use that term women's loosely.
I said nothing.